All right, so today we're going deep, deep into the world of hacking.
Oh, yeah.
But not just the, good versus evil thing you see in the movies, right?
Right.
We're actually looking at this cybersecurity podcast episode
Okay.
to understand all the different players in this whole hacking world.
Mm.
And, did you know that there are actually good guy hackers?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, working to protect us
Absolutely.
and our data from,
Uh-huh.
the bad guys.
Yeah.
And then there are some that kind of blur the lines a little bit.
Yes.
They break the rules,
Right.
but sometimes it's for a good cause.
It's true.
So,
When you hear the word hacker, I think a lot of people immediately go to that stereotypical Hollywood image.
right.
Like that lone wolf in a dark room, just frantically typing away, trying to steal your data.
Yeah.
But the reality
It's
is,
a lot more complicated.
it's far more complex and far more interesting than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, so it's not just good versus evil.
Yeah, it's like a whole spectrum.
It's a spectrum of hacker types, each with their own motivations and methods.
Right. And understanding that spectrum is crucial, especially when,
Yes.
we're all so reliant on technology these days.
Especially now.
Yeah.
More than ever.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with kind of those classic bad guys, the ones that fit that Hollywood stereotype, right?
Yeah.
The black hat hackers,
Yeah.
they're the ones who give hacking a bad name.
They are, unfortunately, the ones that we hear about a lot in the news.
Yeah.
We're talking about the ransomware attacks that cripple businesses or the data breaches that expose people's sensitive information or financial scams that could wipe out your bank account.
Yeah, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah, it feels like every other day.
Yeah.
There's a news story about some big company
Right.
getting hacked.
Uh-huh.
And it just makes you wonder, how vulnerable are we?
That vulnerability is exactly what black hat hackers prey on.
Really?
Yeah. They look for those weaknesses in systems.
Okay.
And they exploit them for their own personal gain.
So is it always about, financial gain?
It can be.
Okay.
It could be financial gain. It can be revenge. Sometimes it's literally just the thrill of wreaking havoc.
Oh, wow.
Some people, yeah,
Okay.
they just like to watch the world burn, digitally speaking.
Oh, gosh. So it's like they're playing a real-life game.
That's a great way to put it.
But the consequences are very real for the rest of us.
They are very real, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. So then on the flip side, we've got the white hat hackers.
Yeah.
These are the ethical hackers
Yeah.
who are actively trying to counter those threats, right?
Absolutely.
So they're like the digital superheroes.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the ones out there using their skills for good,
Right.
working to protect us.
So how do they do that?
So white hat hackers work with companies and organizations
Okay.
to find and fix vulnerabilities before the black hats can exploit them.
Oh, okay.
So they're essentially trying to break in, but with permission.
So that they can find the weak spots and strengthen the system.
Okay, so they're kind of have you ever seen those movies where a bank will hire someone to test out their security?
Yeah, it's a very similar concept.
Yeah.
In the cybersecurity world, it's called penetration testing.
Okay.
And it's a crucial part of keeping our digital infrastructure safe.
Okay.
These white hats are constantly on the lookout for new threats, new vulnerabilities, working to stay one step ahead of the bad guys.
It's like a constant arms race then, right?
It is.
The good guys versus the bad guys.
Yeah.
Both trying to
Outsmart each other?
outsmart each other in this digital battlefield.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, but it's not always black and white, right?
No, not at all.
Because somewhere in between those black hats and white hats,
Yeah.
we find the gray hat hackers.
Right?
And these are the ones that get really interesting.
Yes.
Because they blur the lines a bit, right?
They do. They definitely operate in a moral and legal gray area. They might hack into systems without permission,
Okay.
but their motives aren't always malicious.
So it's not always about personal gain
Right.
or causing chaos.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're driven by a desire to just expose flaws
Okay.
in a system
Got it.
or to push for better security practices.
Okay.
So it's almost like they're trying to force companies to take security more seriously,
Okay.
even if it means bending the rules a little bit.
So they might hack into a company's system just to prove a point.
Right. They might expose a vulnerability
Okay.
to kind of shame a company into fixing it
Wow.
or to raise awareness about a critical security issue.
Okay.
Their methods might be questionable, but their intentions
Are good.
are often in the right place.
So it's they're saying, look, you're not taking security seriously enough.
Right.
So I'm going to show you just how vulnerable you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So It's definitely a controversial approach,
It is.
but you can see how it might force companies to actually step up their game.
Absolutely. I think gray hat hackers raise some really important ethical questions about hacking and cybersecurity in general.
Mm-hmm.
They highlight that tension that always exists between the need for security
Okay.
and the right to privacy.
Right.
And they really challenge us to think about, like,
Yeah.
where is that line
Right. Where is that line?
with ethical hacking?
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of pushing the boundaries, we've got to talk about the red hat hackers.
Yes,
Now, these guys sound like straight out of a movie,
they do.
like a vigilante movie.
They have that kind of take the law into their own hands approach.
Yeah.
So red hat hackers are known for their aggressive tactics.
Oh.
And they will often target black hat hackers and cybercriminals directly. So they're like,
They might launch counterattacks.
okay.
They'll disrupt criminal operations. Sometimes they'll even try to expose the identities of the hackers involved.
So they're like the digital equivalent of Batman.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
No, they're fighting crime, but they're doing it outside of the traditional legal system.
Right. It's very risky.
It is very risky.
Yeah.
And it raises a lot of questions about vigilantism in the digital age.
Yeah, it does.
But I can definitely see how people might find their methods appealing,
Right.
especially when they feel like traditional law enforcement just isn't doing enough
Yeah.
or it's too slow.
To protect them.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's a complex issue for sure.
It is.
All right. So we've got black hats, white hats, gray hats, red hats.
Yeah.
It's like a whole rainbow of hackers out there.
It really is.
I'm guessing there are even more, though, right?
There are
More shades to this whole spectrum.
a couple more that we need to talk about,
Okay. I'm all ears.
each with their own unique characteristics and approaches to cybersecurity.
All right. Let's dive in
Let's do it.
to the next category.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got this whole spectrum of hackers out there, right?
Yeah.
Each with their own, like, motivations and methods.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a digital ecosystem
I like that. That's a good way to put it.
with all these different players kind of vying for control,
Yeah.
influence.
For sure.
Yeah.
And just like in any ecosystem, you have different levels of experience,
Okay.
expertise.
Right.
You know, you've got some hackers who are highly skilled professionals. They've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And then you've got others who are relative newcomers,
Right.
just starting to explore the digital landscape.
Yeah. You don't just become like a master hacker overnight.
Oh, yeah.
It takes.
It takes time, it takes dedication,
Yeah.
a deep understanding of technology
Yeah.
to really excel in this field.
Exactly. And that brings us to our next category
Yes.
of hacker, the blue hat hackers.
Yes.
Okay. So how do they fit into this whole ecosystem?
So think of blue hats like the quality control specialists of the software world.
Okay.
So these are the security professionals who are brought in to test for vulnerabilities in a software or system before it's released to the public.
So they're working like behind the scenes then.
Very much behind the scenes.
They're like,
Helping companies identify and fix security holes
okay.
before the black hats can exploit them.
So they're kind of like the unsung heroes of cybersecurity. Then,
I like that
yeah.
they're the ones working diligently to make sure that the software we use every day is as secure as possible.
Right. And they don't always get the same attention.
Right.
Right.
No, they don't.
As the white hats or the black hats.
Right.
But their work is crucial.
Extremely crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah, they often do this under really tight deadlines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure
Yeah.
to make sure new products and updates are rolled out on schedule.
Wow. I bet that's a really challenging job.
It is.
Because it's almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Yes.
But the haystack is constantly changing.
Constantly changing and growing.
Yeah, and growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It requires a very keen eye for detail,
Okay.
a deep understanding of code, and that knack for being able to think like a hacker.
So you have to kind of anticipate how
Right,
a
right.
black hat would try to exploit.
Exactly. You have to think like the enemy
Okay.
in order to effectively patch those vulnerabilities.
That sounds intense.
It is.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of like
Yeah,
ongoing learning and adapting,
absolutely.
especially when, technology changes so fast.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cybersecurity landscape is constantly shifting,
Okay.
and new threats and vulnerabilities emerge all the time.
Wow.
So blue hats, they need to stay ahead of the curve. They're constantly updating their skills and knowledge
Right.
to keep pace with the latest hacking techniques.
Yeah, it's like they're in a perpetual training program.
They are
Yeah.
always learning, refining their craft,
Yeah.
staying one step ahead
Okay, so we've got these like,
of the bad guys.
yeah, so we've got these seasoned professionals working behind the scenes.
Right.
But what about the people who are just starting out? Where do they fit into this whole spectrum?
That's where our next category comes in. The green hat hackers.
Green hat hackers.
Green hat hackers. Think of them as like the curious explorers.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones who are driven by a thirst for knowledge
Okay.
and a desire to understand how things work.
So they're like the digital equivalent of kids taking apart a clock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To see what's inside.
Just to see how it works.
Right. Except
Yeah.
instead of clocks, they're tinkering with computer systems and code.
Right. So green hats are often like young.
They are typically younger,
Okay.
relatively inexperienced,
Okay.
but very eager to learn
Got it.
and experiment.
Yeah. So they might not necessarily have malicious intent,
Right.
but just because they're inexperienced.
Yeah, they might not have bad intentions, but their lack of experience
Okay.
can sometimes lead to unintended consequences.
So they might accidentally do some damage.
It's definitely a possibility.
Well, they're just kind of like
Right.
exploring and playing around.
Yeah, they might stumble upon a vulnerability
Okay.
and accidentally exploit it.
Right.
Or they might launch a script without fully understanding its potential impact.
Okay.
So it's like a student driver,
Yeah.
who's still learning the rules of the road.
Right. Still learning how to
They
drive.
have the potential to cause an accident,
Yeah.
even if they don't mean to.
Yeah. So I guess it's really important for these green hat hackers to have like
Yes.
good guidance mentors
Absolutely,
Yeah.
to make sure that,
as they're learning.
they're learning responsibly.
Right.
Yeah, green hats need to be aware of the ethical
Oh,
and
geez.
legal boundaries
Got it.
of hacking
Yeah.
and understand that their actions, even if they're unintentional, can have real-world consequences.
Right.
So with the right guidance, they can channel their curiosity and passion
Okay.
into a positive force in the cybersecurity world.
Yeah. So they could become white hats,
It's
blue hats down the line.
Yeah, they could specialize in a certain area that,
Mm.
become experts in penetration testing,
Yeah.
malware analysis, digital forensics.
It's amazing to think that someone who starts out just curious
I know, it is amazing.
could end up like on the front lines fighting cyber attacks.
It is. It really speaks to the power of learning
Yeah.
and mentorship in this field.
Yeah.
And it just highlights the fact that the hacker community is constantly evolving
Okay.
with new generations of hackers emerging all the time.
Yeah. It is a fascinating dynamic.
It is.
I'm still a little nervous though about like
Yeah,
the green hats
I get it.
because, with their lack of experience,
Yeah.
how do you know if it's like harmless or if it's
Right.
actual malicious hacking?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to intent, I think.
Okay.
And understanding the boundaries, right?
Okay.
So it's one thing to experiment with code, explore security vulnerabilities
Okay.
for educational purposes.
Yeah.
That's a key part of learning and improving cybersecurity. But it's quite another to intentionally use that knowledge
Right.
to exploit those vulnerabilities.
To cause harm.
Right. To gain unauthorized access, steal data, disrupt services.
Okay. So it's like the difference between reading a book about how to pick a lock.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah. Versus actually breaking into someone's house.
Exactly.
Right.
And knowledge itself isn't inherently good or bad.
Okay.
It's all about how you use it.
It's how you use it.
It's the intent behind it.
Right. So it's not just the technical skills, it's the ethical
It's the ethics.
considerations as
Yep,
well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Understanding like the potential consequences.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that even seemingly harmless actions
Okay.
can have very real consequences in the digital world.
Okay.
So a simple prank, or even just a moment of carelessness,
Yeah.
can lead to data breaches, financial losses, even reputational damage.
So for those who are like just starting out,
Uh-huh.
really crucial to find the right resources.
Yeah.
The right mentors to kind of guide them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great online communities out there.
Okay.
Courses, certifications that can give aspiring hackers the knowledge and the skills
Got it.
they need to explore the world of cybersecurity safely and responsibly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So we've covered black hats, white hats, gray hats, red hats, blue hats, green hats.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hats.
That is a lot of hats.
It's like a whole haberdashery of hackers.
I like that.
Yeah.
But are there any other types that we need to be aware of?
There's one more category that I think we should touch on.
Okay.
They might not have the technical prowess of some of the other groups that we've talked about,
Okay.
but they can still pose a significant threat,
Okay.
especially to individuals and small businesses.
Great. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
All right. We're talking about script kiddies?
Script kiddies.
Script kiddies, yeah.
That makes them sound kind of harmless.
The name can be a little deceiving, but while they may not have the advanced skills and knowledge of other hacker types,
Right.
they can still cause a lot of damage.
So if they don't have the same level of expertise, then how do they actually, like,
Good question.
carry out these attacks?
So they typically rely on pre-built tools and scripts that were created by others.
Okay.
So think of it like this. Imagine you're following a recipe
Okay.
without really understanding the science of cooking.
Okay, got it.
You know, you can bake a cake by following the steps,
Right.
but you wouldn't be able to create your own recipe from scratch.
Okay, so they're basically using hacking tools that someone else has already made.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they might download a program that can launch a denial of service attack,
Okay.
or they might copy and paste a phishing email template
Oh,
to try and trick people into giving up their passwords.
But even if they're not, like, writing their own code or
Right.
exploiting, like, super complex vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
they can still cause disruptions
Absolutely.
and steal information, right?
Yeah, and in some ways, their lack of sophisticated knowledge can make them even more dangerous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they might not fully grasp the potential consequences
What?
of their actions, which can lead to, unintended damage or even more serious repercussions.
So even though they're not, like, masterminds,
Yeah,
it's important to not underestimate them.
right. Don't let the name fool you.
Yeah.
They might not be able to hack into, like, a major corporation or a government agency,
Yeah.
but they could easily target individuals, small businesses, websites
Right.
that have weaker security measures in place.
Okay, so how do we protect ourselves from these script kiddies?
Good question.
Is it just like strong passwords and being careful about what links you click on?
That's definitely a good start.
Okay.
But it's also crucial to keep your software
Yeah,
operating systems up to date.
Right.
Because a lot of the tools and scripts that script kiddies use
Yeah.
rely on known vulnerabilities that have already been patched.
So it's like leaving your front door unlocked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're just making it that much easier for them to walk right in.
Okay.
So by keeping your systems updated, you're essentially closing those unlocked doors
Right.
and making it much harder for script kiddies to exploit those vulnerabilities.
So it sounds like it's a constant game of cat and mouse, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Hackers are always trying to find new ways to exploit systems.
Right.
And security professionals are working tirelessly to stay one step ahead.
Yeah.
It's a game that will likely continue
Yeah.
for as long as we rely on technology.
I feel like we've covered so much today.
We have.
It's really been insightful.
Did a good conversation.
Yeah, from black hats to white hats.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
All the hats.
It seems like the world of hacking is a lot more complex than people realize.
I think so.
Yeah.
It really is a constantly evolving landscape
Right.
with new threats and new challenges emerging all the time.
Yeah, but the more we understand it, the better equipped we are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
to make informed decisions about our own cybersecurity.
Yeah. And contribute to a safer digital world.
Absolutely.
It's a good reminder that it's not just like the government's responsibility,
Right.
corporations. It's like up to all of us
It's a shared responsibility.
to be aware
Yes,
and to take precautions.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've explored this whole spectrum of hackers,
Yeah.
from villains to heroes, rebels, learners.
All of them.
Yeah, it's been fascinating
It has been.
to kind of journey through this digital underworld.
Yeah, now that we're wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a bit of a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Okay, so if you could choose a hacker hat to wear, which one would it be?
That's a great question.
And why?
It really makes you think
Yeah.
about like your own morals and values.
Or values your comfort level with risk,
Right.
your personal ethics when it comes to technology.
Yeah, would you be drawn to like protecting systems and data?
Yeah. Would you be a white hat?
Yeah. Driven by that desire to defend.
Yeah. Or would you be like the gray hat?
Ooh, a gray hat.
Kind of pushing the boundary.
Exploring the unknown,
Yeah.
maybe walking that line
Yeah.
between what's legal and what's not.
Right. What about a red hat?
Red hat, yeah.
Fighting for a cause.
Yeah, taking down the bad guys.
Yeah. Or maybe you'd be happy just working behind the scenes like a blue hat.
Quiet hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, ensuring the security of the software we all rely on.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about
It is.
how all these things would shape our actions in this digital world.
It really is.
Yeah, and I think even if you never actually put on a hacker hat yourself,
Yeah.
just understanding these motivations
Mm-hmm.
can help us all
Absolutely.
navigate this really complex digital world.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's about developing that deeper awareness
Okay.
of the forces at play,
Right.
the potential risks,
Yeah. and the steps that you can take to protect yourself and your data.
Okay, so as we wrap up
Yeah.
this deep dive,
Uh-huh.
it's not just black and white.
It's
It's a whole spectrum.
It's a whole spectrum of hacker types out there,
Right.
each with their own unique motivations, methods, impact.
And the more we understand that,
Yeah.
the better off we all are.
The better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions, protect ourselves from threats,
Right.
and really contribute to a safer and more secure digital world.
Well said. It's been a truly insightful
It has been.
journey through this digital underworld.
It's been a fun one.
It has, and I think we've all learned a lot about this complex world of hacking.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more we understand about the threats that we face,
Mhm.
the better prepared we'll be to defend ourselves
Right.
and to navigate the digital world with confidence.
So keep learning, stay curious,
Yes.
and always be mindful of those digital footprints you leave behind.
And take a moment to reflect on that question.
Yeah.
What kind of hacker would you be?
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah, the answer might surprise you.
It might.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us
Thanks for having me.
on this deep dive. Until next time,
Until next
stay
time.
safe. Stay safe.
And stay informed.
And keep those hats on straight.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating question.
Isn't it?
Yeah, like what kind of hacker would you be?
Yeah.
It's almost like a personality test
It is.
for the digital age.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
It's really about exploring your own motivations,
Yeah.
how comfortable you are with risk
Yeah.
and your own personal ethics, when it comes to technology.
Right. Would you be like those green hats,
Yeah.
driven by curiosity, just
Right.
wanting to learn how things work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or would you be more like drawn to
Yeah.
finding those vulnerabilities?
Yeah.
Like the blue hats, making sure that everything is
Right. Keeping things secure.
secure and working properly.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe you have like a really strong sense of justice
Yeah.
and you'd be inclined to be a red hat,
Yeah.
fighting cybercrime.
Yeah. Taking down the bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or would you be content to just kind of work behind the scenes,
Right.
like a blue hat?
Yeah. The quiet hero.
Yeah. Just making sure things are running smoothly in the
Yeah.
background.
It is interesting to think about
It is.
how like our own values, our beliefs
No.
would shape what we do in this digital world.
And I think even if you never actually put on a hacker hat yourself, just understanding these motivations and these approaches can help you better navigate the complexities of the digital world.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about developing a deeper awareness
Okay.
of the forces at play,
Right.
the potential risks,
Yeah.
and the steps that you can take to protect yourself
Okay.
and your data.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive today
Yeah.
into the world of hacking,
Ah.
the key takeaway is this. It's not just good and bad,
Right.
black and white.
No, it's a whole spectrum.
There's a whole spectrum of hacker types out there
There is.
with all these different motivations, methods impacting
Right.
the digital landscape.
And the more we understand about that spectrum,
Yeah.
the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions,
Right.
protect ourselves from those threats,
Yeah.
and contribute to a safer, more secure digital world for everyone.
Well said. It's been a really insightful journey
Oh, yes.
through this digital underworld.
It's been a fascinating one.
Yeah, and I think we've all learned a lot about this very complex world
I hope so.
of hacking.
Absolutely.
So keep learning, stay curious.
Stay curious.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
be mindful of those digital footprints you leave behind.
And don't forget to think about that question.
Yes.
What kind of hacker would you be?
It might surprise you. All right, well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time,
Until next time.
stay safe and stay informed.
Stay safe.